Hello, my name is Garry Mahoney. The machinery behind me, is an Avery Threshing outfit. I should say the Avery Company. We're out of Peoria, Illinois, and my granddad was a dealer for them in this area. This was a machine that he had and used, and we kept it in the family. And actually, my dad and neighbors and myself, when I was a kid at the time, did some thrashing in the late 50s, early 60s, when a lot of the guys were just out of high school and college age, and so we had plenty of help. Since then, it took, I think, 12, 15 people to run this. You had truck, we did have no storage on the machine, so wheat as it came out went directly into a truck. So you had to have two trucks, one to back up, and when the other one left, to take the wheat to where it was going to be stored at. This part of it is the feeder, called the feeder house. And it laid down on the ground. You had shocks of wheat on either side of it, or if you were hauling them in, you had them on one side, and you had about 3, 4 people, 5 people pitching wheat into this feeder house, which carried wheat in bundles. And by bundle, I'm talking about some wheat that's tied in a bundle about that big in the middle with a string around it. And the other way that was done was they stacked the wheat, and my granddad would thrash, and thrashing would run up almost to Thanksgiving because they didn't have that many machines. The wheat was stacked, it wasn't going anywhere, it wasn't deteriorating. And he would go around with this rig and thrash that wheat. It took about 10 to 15 people to run it, driving the truck to haul out, to haul away, pitch it in. This machine was complicated enough, it needed enough oil because it never had good supply of oil. There was a thresher tender, and his job was to stay on this Avery separator and keep everything oiled and in running order. Then you had another person on the tractor, which would be the biggest steam engine or gas tractor. So if you could shut it, if you needed a shutdown, you could shut down. Every once in a while, some pitcher would lose a fork in it, and as he pitched in, so you had to shut it down before the fork went into the machine. So anyway, the wheat put in here, elevated it up. This is separate. This is a separate part, and it went into the feeder house, into the thrash machine. You can see those looking devices up at the top. They went out and grabbed it and rolled it in. And then there's a belt on the bottom. And that went in to the separator. And this shaft, there was a belt that went here around here, and the belt went to the power source, which is either a steam engine or a gas tractor that was sitting on, and it had a belt wheel on it, and would run the machine. So it had a cylinder, we call it a cylinder, right here, back in there. That governor, it wouldn't start feeding wheat until the governor, it got going fast enough, the governor engaged in the conveyor started running. So as it went back, it went through various, this kind of knocked the wheat down into more of a meaningful way to run it through the separator which separated the wheat from the straw. The wheat being heavier would go down, and the straw being lighter would end up at the top, and we'll get back to the back where it all went out. So as it came back, here's a fan, which is a critical device, and it blew air again to separate the straw from the wheat as it passed through the machine. And you can see here, this bottom in here, it shook back and forth. This is one of the supports for it, and a spring on it, and that's where the wheat really separated out of the straw. The straw being lighter went up, and the wheat being heavier came down and dropped into what we call the separator part of it, and ultimately it came down to here. This was augured into a trailer or where the wheat was going to be stored for. And some of the wheat needed to be ran through again because it didn't totally separate it. So this was the return, and it would pick up and take back up and run it through a second time through the machine. Again, to separate the wheat from the straw. In those days, this machine sat in one place. People wanted straw piles for cattle and such. So if you look up there, you'll see a big long tube. That also extends. It's in the short. And then it lifted up and it swung out, and you made a straw pile. But you could then position that wherever you want. You could lengthen it, shorten it, go left, right, go up, down. And there's the controls for it right here. That wheel turned it, and that wheel up there raised and lowered it. Down here, you'll see a straw came in and got blown out into a straw pile up here. There's a big fan back in the back inside. Well, that's kind of the way the machine worked and operated. It took a good-sized tractor to run it. It was the biggest type thrash machine that was made in those days.
Do you know how many bushels of wheat it would do a day? Or an hour?
1,000.
A day?
A day. Depends on the quality of the wheat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of that wheat was a lot of straw. You had to do that, but this is the back of the machine. And if you look up there, you can see the controls to put the blower wherever you needed it to stack the wheat into the shed. Well, I should say the straw into a pile. That goes up and down and around about, as you can see. On this side, here again, we got the back portion of it where the straw collected and was exhausted. And this is the elevator, which, as the wheat separated from the straw, fell to the bottom, the lowest point, which was right here. And that elevator then took it up to the top, and you had wagons and whatever you were going to put the wheat into out. That tube swung out. That's in a stored position right now. That swung out so you could put it, because you always kept two wagons there. The minute one was full, you moved it over and put it into another one. So this again is the elevator, which takes the wheat after it's been thrashed up to the top and then into that auger out into a truck or storage. and then the straw went back and went out the bigger pipe. These are belts on it, and this is the fan, which helps separate the lighter straw from the heavier wheat seeds. Like I said, the wheat seeds fell down to the bottom, the straw went up and then went out the back and was blowing.
So there's only one belt to the tractor and that powered all the other belts?
See, if you look here, you can see where these...
Yeah, where they line up.
Where they line up and where they go. And these are all different sizes to run whatever they were attached to at the right speed. Because the input speed was constant off of the power source, which is a tractor or steam engine or whatever on that other side. So that's why all these wheels are different sizes to provide the right RPMs to whatever they're built to. And if you look on the other side, I think you can see those turning. It took a pretty good sized crew to operate it. When we were thrashing with it, we'd have 12 to 15 people hauling the wheat away, pitching wheat into it. He had one man up on the separator, called the separator tender, and his job was to make sure it was operating and everything was kept lubricated, which was a big issue. Then you had a big oil can, you went around and drew on it, you everything, a couple squirts of oil. Then you had to have somebody on the tractor, power source, which could be a steam engine in the early days, starting about the turn of the century. And the gas tractor came into being about in the early 20s. They started using gas tractors, big gas tractors, and they had to have something. You kept somebody on that tractor in case you had a malfunction to shut the whole thing down, because you didn't want self-damaging itself. And so there was two people. You had people hauling water to it early on and coal, and then gas. It run about, as I recall, about 4 or 5 hours on about 50 gallons of gas when you were thrashing. It took a crew, and then you had another bunch bringing the bundles in from the field if you hadn't already pre-stacked them.
So its period was the early 20s to the period it was used really was the early 20s to the late 30s?
Early 100s.
Okay.
1901, and about, the combine came in about 1932 thereabouts. The combine started showing up, maybe the late 20s. That's when the combine, of course, the combine simply took less people, less manpower to operate. So before, when the thrash machine was used from the earliest days of wheat recovery in the field, probably till the combine came about. I'm talking about pre-1900.
And this unit was built in the 20s.
20s.
Yeah.
It was toward the end of the thrashing.
And it was one of the largest wooden ones, if not the largest.
The largest wooden separator. We call them separators by thrash machines.
Mm-hmm.
Separator was just a short word.
All right.
Like I said earlier, this one was bought new by my grandfather, Big Matthew's great-grandfather, and used commercially.
And we found out.
The average farmer, couldn't afford or didn't need this type of machine on his farm unless you were in the business of going around the neighbors and thrashing their wheat. You had to have a crew to do that. And that's how my grandfather for many years made a living. That was part of making a living. He was a thresher, and every area had somebody that had a machine that threshed.